श्रीमद् भक्तिवेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय। नितिलप विष्णु विष्णुपाद अशुतर अशुत श्रीमद् भक्तिवेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नितिलप विष्णु विष्णुपाद अशुतर अशुत श्रीमद् भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिलप विष्णुपाद अशुतर अशुत श्रीमद् भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नितिलप विष्णु विष्णुपाद अशुतर अशुत श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिलप विष्णु महाभागवत श्री गोक्षर बाबूजी महाराज की जय। नितिलप विष्णु श्री सच्चिद आनंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नितिलप विष्णु वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूप नु गौरी गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल पतिदास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदाता गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री मुन देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणति नामिने। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वेभ्यो नमो नमः। महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः। कुर्वे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तरभक्ताय नमो नमः। Sorry guys. Yang pravrajantamanupetamapetaकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरभोभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूत हृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरसां ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन यान्तस्तो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतम्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भगवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी। तवैवास्मि न जीवामि विना इति विज्ञाय रात्वां नायमां चरणन्तं भक्त्या विहीनापराधलक्षाय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामय Sharanang prapanna vrinde namaste charanaravindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dandavat pranams Madhavi Didi, Rup Manjari Didi, Ganga Didi, Raseshwari Mataji, Haripriya Didi, and Yashoda Didi. And both Yashoda Didi and Ganga Didi are watching at 4:30 in the morning there now, or 4 o'clock in the morning? Really amazing. Okay, so now we're going to read this chapter again, chapter 4, with Srila Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura's commentary, the Sārārtha-darśinī. The Atrocities of Caṁsa. And because we've already read the Sanskrit before, I'm not going to read it a second time, but soon, once we get to the 13th chapter, we will read the Sanskrit directly from here. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Oops, it's a habit. I really like reading the Sanskrit. It's just, I think it's a bit too much to read it twice. Verse 1. Translation. Shukadeva Goswami continued, "My dear King Parikshit, the doors inside and outside the house closed as before. Thereafter, the inhabitants of the house, especially the watchmen, heard the crying of the newborn child and thus awakened from their beds." Commentary, Sārārtha-darśinī commentary by Srila Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura. This chapter relates Kaṁsa's repentance on hearing Maya's words, Devaki's forgiving Kaṁsa, and the evil minister's advice to Kaṁsa. Bala Dwani, crying of a newborn. This means the crying of the infant when he first comes out of the womb. The watchmen were just like dogs protecting a house. On hearing the crying baby, they immediately got up. Verse 2. Thereafter, all the watchmen very quickly approached King Kaṁsa, the ruler of the Bhoja dynasty, and submitted the news of the birth of Devaki's child. Kaṁsa, who had awaited this news very anxiously, immediately took action. Commentary. The guards quickly got up and told Kaṁsa of the birth of Devaki's 8th child, Garbhajanma. Verse 3. Kaṁsa immediately got up from bed, thinking, "Here is Kala, the supreme time factor which has taken birth to kill me." Thus overwhelmed, Kaṁsa, his hair scattered on his head, at once approached the place where the child had been born. Commentary. The time has come for killing the child, or the sentence can kalo ayam, or the sentence can mean, out of fear, Kaṁsa was thinking that the birth of the child was his own death. Kal. Verse 4. Devaki helplessly, piteously appealed to Kaṁsa. "My dear brother, all good fortune unto you. Don't kill this girl. She will be your daughter-in-law. Indeed, it is unworthy of you to kill a woman." Commentary. Devaki was shining with satisfaction because she had been able to hide her son. Kriparna. Helplessly indicates Devaki was suffering because she hoped that the baby girl would be saved. Sati, chaste lady, means Devaki was expert in trying to cheat Kaṁsa. "This child will be the future bride of your son." Saying that Kaṁsa was going to take the child by force, Devaki then addressed him as Kalyana, most auspicious, to indicate that he should not
produce inauspiciousness by committing the sin of killing a female child. Verse 5. My dear brother, by the influence of destiny, you have already killed many babies, each of them as bright and beautiful as fire. But kindly spare this daughter. Give her to me as your gift. Commentary. Fearing that Kaṁsa would become angry after she criticized him for his cruelty in killing her previous sons, Devaki said, It is my fate. Daiva nisrishtena. What fault is there in you? She then expressed her pitiful condition, praying that Kaṁsa should not make her arms devoid of the child. Verse 6. My lord, my brother, I am very poor, being bereft of all my children, but still I am your younger sister, and therefore it would be worthy of you to give me this last child as a gift. Anga here means, O brother. Verse 7. Shukadev Goswami continued, piteously embracing her daughter and crying, Devaki begged Kaṁsa for the child, but he was so cruel that he chastised her and forcibly snatched the child from her hands. Commentary. Atmajang evang means as if the child were her own daughter. Since Devaki was aware that it was not her daughter. Dina Dinavat, poor woman. Devaki is described as being like the most miserable person. Dina Dinavat, instead of being the most miserable, because the child was not actually hers. Yeah, Dinavat means like a poor person, doesn't mean a poor. Vat means like. Threatening Devaki, Kaṁsa grabbed the child from her hands. Verse 8. Having uprooted all relationships with his sister because of intense selfishness, Kaṁsa, who was sitting on his knees, grasped the newborn child by the legs and tried to dash her against the surface of a stone. Commentary. Apotayet, smashed. Kaṁsa threw the child down with great force. Verse 9. The child, Yogamaya Devi, the younger sister of Lord Vishnu, slipped upward from Kaṁsa's hands and appeared in the sky as Devi, the goddess Durga, with 8 arms completely equipped with weapons. Commentary. As Yogamaya was falling to the ground, she forcefully leaped into the sky. The Bhavishya Uttara Purana says that Yogamaya, Durga, put her foot on Kaṁsa's head as she went up into the sky. She is described here as the younger sister, the Anuja of Krishna, indicating that Krishna, as well as Yogamaya, were born from Yashoda. She held weapons in her 8 arms to frighten Kaṁsa. Verses 10 to 11. The goddess Durga was decorated with flower garlands, smeared with sandalwood pulp, and dressed with excellent garments and ornaments made of jewels. Oh, one second, I'm going to open up this book. Holding in her hands a bow, a trident, arrows, a shield, a sword, a conch shell, a disc, and a club, and being praised by celestial beings like Apsaras, Kinnaras, Uragas, Siddhas, Charanas, and Gandharvas, who worshipped her with all kinds of presentations, she spoke as follows. And I'm just seeing if there's any important verses in this chapter. Okay, verse 46, the last one. Okay. Verse 12. O Kaṁsa, you fool, what will be the use of killing me? The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has been your enemy from the very beginning and who will certainly kill you, has already taken his birth somewhere else. Therefore, do not unnecessarily kill other children. Commentary. The goddess Durga said, Kaṁsa, what can you gain from killing me? If you kill me, you still cannot prevent your death. He who will kill you has already been born somewhere else. yatra kvava, which cannot be revealed to you. Kripanam refers to Devaki who is suffering. Another reading is Kripanan, which refers to many poor babies. The sentence would then read, you should not kill poor innocent children, instead of, you should not kill poor Devaki. Verse 13. After speaking to Kaṁsa in this way, the goddess Durga, Yogamaya, appeared in different places such as Varanasi and became celebrated by different names such as Annapurna, Kali, and Bhadra. Commentary. Niketeshu, different places. Maya Devi, or goddess Durga, became famous by many names in different places such as Varanasi. Verse 14. After hearing the words of the goddess Durga, Kaṁsa was struck with wonder. Thus he approached sister Devaki and brother-in-law Vasudeva, released them immediately from their shackles, and very humbly spoke as follows. Haribo Janardhan Prabhu. Let me make the volume louder. Commentary. Parama Vismita, wonderstruck. In great astonishment, Kaṁsa thought, how could a mere mortal like Devaki give birth to Durga Devi? But then, how could Durga's words be false? Verse 15. Little did he know. Yes. No. Never mind. I wonder if this is the first time. No, never mind. Verse 15. Alas, my sister, alas, my brother-in-law, I am indeed so sinful that exactly like a man-eater, like a Rakshasa who eats his own child, I've killed so many sons born of you. Commentary. Kaṁsa tries to pacify Devaki and Vasudeva in the following verses. Bhama, brother-in-law, Ushada, Rakshasa, man-eater. Just as a Rakshasa kills his own children, I have killed many of your sons. Verse 16. Being merciless and cruel, I've forsaken all my relatives and friends. Therefore, like a person who has killed a Brahman, I do not know to which planet I shall go, either after death or while breathing. Verse 17. Alas, not only human beings, but sometimes even providence lies, and so sinful that I believed the omen of providence and killed so many of my sister's children. Verse 18. O great souls, your children have suffered their own misfortune. Therefore, please do not lament for them. All living entities in control of the Supreme, and they cannot always live together. Commentary. Mahabhago, fortunate. Kaṁsa said, Devaki, you are very fortunate because Durga Devi has come as your daughter. You should not lament for your sons who have reaped the results of their actions. Even considering that they living entities cannot remain together for very long. Verse 19. In this world, we can see that pots, dolls, and other product earth appear, break, and then disappear, mixing with the earth. Similarly, the bodies of all conditioned living entities are annihilated, but the living entities, like the earth itself, are unchanging and never annihilated. Nahanyamane sharire. Commentary. Kaṁsa continues. You should not lament after considering the difference between the soul and matter. Just as clay pots are created and destroyed, the bodies of the individual living entity are created and destroyed. As the earth itself is not affected by these changes, similarly, the living entity is not affected, though the material bodies undergo change. Verse 20. One who does not understand the constitutional position of the body and the soul, the Atma, becomes too attached to the concept of life. Consequently, because of attachment to the body and its byproducts, he feels affected by union and with He feels affected by union with and separation from his family, society, and nation. As this continues, one continues his material life. Otherwise, one is liberated. Somebody just sent me a message. Okay. Commentary. Due to ignorance of their spiritual identity, most people think that they are the body, and thus perceive differences because of different bodies. Because of this, yata, they think that they undergo change with birth and death, atma vyaya. Thus, they feel happy when united with their sons and experience suffering when separated from them. This is called Sārārtha-darśinī. Verse 21. My dear sister Devaki, all good fortune unto you. Everyone suffers and enjoys the results of his own work under the control of providence. Therefore, although your sons have unfortunately been killed by me, please do not lament for them. Commentary. Kaṁsa continues. The sons killed The sons killed by me are sons from the external point of view due to bodily action. Therefore, do not grieve. I have only killed the bodies of your sons, so do not be blamed. So I should not be blamed. If you say, I do not have such knowledge of the soul, then still you should not grieve. According to the view of Kaṁavadis, the fruit of workers, taking shelter of it, all souls are forced to experience the results of their actions, even though they do not desire it. Verse 22. In the bodily concept of life, one remains in darkness without self-realization, thinking, I am being killed, or I have killed my enemies. As long as a foolish person thus considers the self to be the killer, as long as a foolish person thus considers the self to be the killer of the killed, he continues to be responsible for material obligations, and consequently, he suffers the reactions of happiness and distress. From the viewpoint of a jnani, Kaṁsa tries to show that he is not the killer of her sons. The ignorant see only the body, and they do not see the soul. Asvadvarik. Since I do not identify with the body, I incur no sin, nor get any bondage of karma for killing the children. So beyond the body, isn't he? Doesn't care about death, right? He doesn't care about anybody else's death except for his own. Text 23. Kaṁsa begged, my dear sister and brother-in-law, please be merciful to such a poor person as me, since both of you are saintly persons. Please excuse my atrocities. Having said this, Kaṁsa fell at the feet of Vasudeva and Devaki, his eyes full of tears of regret. Commentary. You may choose to continue grieving while blaming me for the death of your son, but in reality, I did not commit this sinful act. Consciously, even though I'm a wicked person. My atonement only by your mercy. Thus, Kaṁsa says to Vasudeva and Devaki, please forgive me. Śrīla, brother-in-law. The word indicates Kaṁsa. Swasuro, sister, is a dual form of the word sister and her husband, Devaki and Vasudeva. Kaṁsa touched both of their feet. Text 24. Fully believing in the words of the goddess, Kaṁsa exhibited his familial affection for Devaki and Vasudeva by immediately releasing them from their iron shackles. Commentary. Fully believing in Durga's words, Kaṁsa showed his friendship by immediately releasing Vasudeva and Devaki from their iron shackles, their nigada. Just checking everything's going. It's working. Yes. Dandavat pranam Surya Didi. This is the rhetoric used by too many abusers. They become gyan confronted but they have body conscious when they want to enjoy or protect themselves. That is very, very true. Very, very terrible. Verse 25. When Devaki saw her brother actually repentant while explaining ordained events, she was rid of all anger. Similarly, Vasudeva was also free from anger. Smiling, he spoke to Kaṁsa as follows. Commentary. Roshacha, anger, indicates lamentation as well as anger. Devaki forgave Kaṁsa for his offenses and gave up her anger. Verse 26. Wait, this is Vasudeva speaking, right? I think it's Vasudeva speaking. O great personality Kaṁsa, only by the influence of ignorance does one accept the material body and bodily ego. What I have said about this philosophy is correct. Persons in the bodily concept of life, lacking self-realization, differentiate in terms of this is mine and this belongs to another. Commentary. Because of the spell of false identity, one thinks of objects as mine, and this way one thinks in terms of duality. Verse 27. Persons with the vision of differentiation are imbued with the material qualities, lamentation, jubilation, fear, envy, greed, illusion, and they are influenced by the immediate cause, which they are busy counteracting, because they have no knowledge of the remote supreme cause, the personality of Godhead. Commentary. Those with external vision cannot see that the Supreme Lord arranges that entities and forces, such as kings, tigers, and disease, are killing others, such as men and cows. Verse 28. Shukmi continued. Thus, having been addressed in purity by Devaki and Vasudeva, who were very much appeased, Kaṁsa felt pleased, and with their permission, he entered his home. Commentary. Vishuddham, purity. Vasudeva and Devaki spoke very sincerely to Kaṁsa with pleasing words, Vishuddham. Another reading of the word is Vishratam. In that case, it means that they spoke in such a way to gain Kaṁsa's trust. Verse 29. After that night passed, Kaṁsa summoned sisters and informed them of all that had been spoken by Yogamaya, who had revealed that he who was to slay Kaṁsa had already been born somewhere else. Verse 30. After hearing their master's statement, the envious asuras who were enemies of the demigods and were not very expert in their dealings advised Kaṁsa as follows. Nati kovida means ignorance. Ati refers to qualification. The demons, devoid of the qualification of knowledge, heard Kaṁsa's words, became angry with the demigods, and then began to speak. Verse 31. If this is so, O king of the Bhoja dynasty, beginning day, we shall kill all the children born in all the villages, towns, and pasturing grounds within the past 10 days or slightly more. Commentary. Anirshan means children less than 10 days old. Nirdashan refers to children more than 10 days old. The demons proclaimed, "Today we will kill all children over and under 10 days old." 32. The demigods always fear the sound of your bowstring. They are constantly in anxiety, afraid of fighting. Therefore, what can they do by their endless endeavors to harm you? 33. While being pierced by your arrows, which you discharged on all sides, some of them who were injured by the multitude of arrows, but who desired, fled the battlefield, intent on escaping. Commentary. Being pierced by your arrows, the demigods fled. Verse 34. Defeated and bereft of all weapons, some of the demigods gave up fighting and praised you with folded hands, and some of them, appearing before you with loosened garments and hair, said, "O Lord, we are very much afraid of you." Verse 35. When the demigods are bereft of their chariots, when they forget how to use weapons, when they are fearful, are attached to something other than fighting, when their bows are broken and they have thus lost the ability to fight, your majesty does not kill them. Commentary. The demons continue speaking to Kaṁsa. Your sense of righteousness increases the strength of the demigods. Give up this sense of righteousness, for this is not the time for dharma. Verse 36. The demigods boast uselessly while away from the battlefield. Only where there is no fighting can they show their prowess. Therefore, from such demigods, we have nothing to fear. As for Lord Vishnu, he is in seclusion in the core of the hearts of the yogis. As for Lord Shiva, he has gone to the forest. And as for Lord Brahma, he is always engaged in austerities and meditation. The other demigods, headed by Indra, are devoid of prowess. Therefore, you have nothing to fear. Commentary. This verse is spoken to show that the demons have no fear of the demigods. The demigods display courage where there is no danger, kshema, and show pride outside the boasting and talking uselessly. Because you are stronger, you should have no fear of even Hari or Shiva. Hari prefers solitary places. Even if the demigods have strength, why do they not come out and fight? Why does Hari hide within the hearts of the people? Why does Shiva stay in the forest and Ilavrita without mixing with people? Verse 37. None, because of their enmity, our opinion is that the demigods should not be neglected. Therefore, to uproot them completely, engage us in fighting with them, for we are ready to follow you. Commentary. The demon said to Kaṁsa, though the demigods are weak, the enemy cannot be neglected. This is according to Niti Shastra, civic laws. Verse 38. As a disease, if initially neglected, becomes acute and impossible to cure, or as the senses, if not controlled at first, are impossible to control later. An enemy, if neglected in the beginning, later becomes insurmountable. Commentary. As a disease in the body becomes acute when neglected, and as senses not brought under control in the beginning become uncontrollable. Similarly, a neglected enemy feeds us. Verse 39. The foundation of all the demigods is Lord Vishnu, who lives and is worshipped wherever there are religious principles, culture, the Vedas, cows, Brahmins, Astis, and sacrifice with proper remuneration. Commentary. Mulam, root, foundation. That which gives life is the root. The root of the demigods is Lord Vishnu. The root of Vishnu is Dharma, which is founded upon the Vedas. Verse 40. O king, we who are your adherents in all respects shall therefore kill the Vedic Brahmins, the persons engaged in offering sacrifices and austerities, and the cows that supply milk, from which clarified butter is obtained for the ingredients of sacrifice. Commentary. Among these, killing the Brahmins will bring about the end of religious culture. Oh, sorry. That wasn't the demon speaking. Among these, killing the Brahmins will bring about the end. Therefore, the demon speaks this verse. Ghee, which is necessary for sacrifice, yajna, comes from the cows, so we should kill the cows. 41. The Brahmins, the cows, Vedic knowledge, austerity, truthfulness, control of the mind and senses, faith, mercy, tolerance, and sacrifice are the different parts of the body of Lord Vishnu, and they are the paraphernalia for godly civilization. 42. Lord Vishnu, the super soul within the core of everyone's heart, is the ultimate enemy of the Asuras. He is therefore known as Asura-dvit. He is the leader of all the demigods, because all the demigods, including Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, exist under his protection. The great saintly persons, sages, and Vaishnavas also depend on him. To persecute the Vaishnavas, therefore, is the only way to kill Vishnu. Commentary. By killing the Brahmins, because the saintly people are the root of Vishnu, who is the root of all things. Verse 43. Shukadeva Goswami continued. Thus cited the instructions of his bad ministers. Kaṁsa is bound by the laws of Yamaraj and devoid of good intelligence because he was a demon, decided to persecute the saintly persons, the Brahmins, as the only way to achieve his own good fortune. Verse 44. These demons, the followers of Kaṁsa, were expert at persecuting others, especially the Vaishnavas, and could assume any form they desired. After giving these demons permission to go everywhere and persecute the saintly persons, Kaṁsa entered his palace. Verse 45. Surcharged with passion and ignorance, and not knowing what was good or bad for him, the Asuras, for whom impending death was waiting, began the persecution of the saintly persons. Arad agata mrit. Soon overtaken by death. By these words, Shukdev pacifies the fearful Maharaj Parikshit. The passionate followers of Kaṁsa, whose minds were bewildered by ignorance and whose death was fast approaching, began to torment the Brahmins. Verse 46. Oh, and this is an important verse. It means everything is destroyed by persecuting great souls. So I'll read the Sanskrit. Ayushriyam yodharmang lokan ashisha evacha hanti shriyangshi sarvani pungso mahad atikrama. My dear king, when a man persecutes souls, all his benedictions of longevity, beauty, fame, religion, blessings, and promotion to higher planets will be destroyed. Thus ends the commentary on the 4th chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam for the pleasure of the devotees in accordance with the previous acharyas. All right, so that's our reading for today. And okay, my demon voice is good. I was worried it was a bit annoying. I got kind of annoyed doing it, but couldn't stop. Yes, Rup Manjari Didi. This is, important points. Yes, of course. That would be insane if an ordinary victim was to Dandavat Pranams Gargaraji. Yeah, I think that's clear. All right, so what's the next thing? Let me just check. The next 10th canto, chapter 5. Tomorrow we will read the meeting of Nanda Maharaj and Vasudev. As described in the chapter, Nanda Maharaj very gorgeously performed the birth ceremony for his newborn child. Then he went to Kaṁsa to pay taxes and met his intimate friend Vasudev. There is great jubilation all over Vrindavan due to Krishna's birth. Everyone was overwhelmed with joy. Therefore, the king of Vraj wanted to perform the birth ceremony, and this he did. During this great festival, Nanda Maharaj gave in charity. Okay, cool. So we're going to be reading about the festival of Krishna's birth in Vrindavan. Nanda, tomorrow's Nandotsav, and then Nanda Maharaj meeting with Vasudeva. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Guru Dev Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatara Shatashmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Mahabhagavat Srila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Padadash Raghunath Shara Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai, Nama Chai Shri Hairas Ṭhākura Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sarva Abhishta Bhadata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Radha Kun Shama Kun Yamuna Ganga Tulsi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, oh, Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura Ki Jai, Sārārtha-darśinī Vritti Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshakascha Krishna Bhakti Padadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. And I just, right before I started this, before I went live, I uploaded the latest Vine of Devotion video. This took a long time to make. If you have a chance to watch it, I would be happy if people are able to watch it. Let's see. Yeah. Anyways, you can find it on, if you go to my Facebook page, you can find it there. Or if you're subscribed to the Vine of Devotion channel. Yeah, it's about the growth of the Vine of Devotion. And I go through a very important thing in Bengali grammar in this one. It will help you understand many other verses. It's on the participle. So anytime you see a verb ending with ia, it's, yeah, you'll understand what it means. All right, see you all tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe. Yes.